I would like to talk about women in the highest position in most corporations, and that is as directors of corporate boards. Specifically, I'm going to share with you the findings of a report that we did, the 2010 report on women on the boards of the 200 largest companies in the world as ranked by Fortune magazine in terms of gross revenues. We began this report actually in 2004, and we've been doing it every 2 years to see if there is any progress over the years. And this report will give you a global backdrop to what we've been talking about as to how women can access business leadership. So the question is, why is it important for women to even reach board directorships? It's very simple. This is the last bastion of power. For many people, men and women, boards of directors of companies are not people they think about. They think about CEOs, they think about CFOs. Boards of directors are unknown. Well, it shouldn't be unknown for women who want to reach the highest level of corporate leadership. When you think about it, the decisions that are made by these large corporations, many of which have budgets larger than some economies in the world, okay, impact on communities, on workers worldwide. Many of the companies now, American companies, for instance, make, as well as Japanese, have the largest profits across, from outside their country. So the decisions made by this group of people is very, very important to consumers worldwide, workers worldwide, and countries worldwide. This study comes actually at a very interesting time, upon the heels of an economic recession that has made global a dirty word, largely because of the domino effect of bad business practices that affected economies across borders. There's now a clamor for change. As you know, there's now a clamor for regulatory reform, not just in the United States, but all over Europe and other parts of the world. There are now new oversight structures that are being proposed. So what has been important that, what will we do to avert the crisis in the future, but not the who. So if you have the same players as before, the same can happen again. So now I want to concentrate on who the potential new players can be. Slide, please. In the Fortune Global 200, when we first began, there were there were less countries. There were 22 countries represented by the 200 largest companies in the world. Now there are 28. But as you can see, look at the changes. The United States lost 17 companies in the Fortune Global 200 listing. Japan lost 2. Look at the UK, it lost 5. But if you look at the ones who are actually changing the composition of the 200 largest companies in the world, you will see that the region that has gained the most is Asia. Actually reflecting what was talked about during lunch, that the center of gravity for the 21st century economy has shifted to Asia because of China, because of India, because of other players. There are now 47 Asian companies in the Fortune 200 listing in 2006 compared to only 36 in 2004. China alone, when we first started doing this report, had 3 companies in the Fortune Global 200. It now has 11, only in 6 years. That's been a tremendous change. There are also new members, and they come, slide please. They come from Taiwan, from Thailand, from Turkey, Saudi Arabia. These are countries that now have companies that are so large that they're included in this listing. They are more traditional countries with less women in charge. So when you add those countries to the continuing reluctance of Japan, Korea, and Malaysia to appoint women directors, you can see why Asian companies in this study emerged with the highest percentage of companies without women directors. Slide, please. And as you can see, Japan leads this listing. Out of the 25 companies, Japanese companies ranked in the Fortune Global 200, 19 had no women directors. Korea had 5 companies in the Fortune Global 200, 5 had 0 women on their board. But take a look, China is also there, but only 3 companies out of 11 did not have women directors. Nobody is a good guy or a bad guy. As you can see, there are bad guys in Europe as well. Germany, you know, Netherlands, and of course the United States. We have 1 company that does not yet have, in the Fortune Global 200, any woman director. So the lack of progress in these countries offsets any kind of change. So the result, slide please. As you can see, the bad news is that very little has changed since our 2007 report. Only 12.2%, right there in red, only 12.2% of corporate board seats in the 200 largest companies in the world are held by women. This is probably the most pathetic thing. This rate of increase is about 1% yearly since 2007. There's one piece of good news. The majority, or 77.5%, of the 200 largest companies globally have at least 1 female director. So that's the overwhelming majority. Now, enough of the bad news. Who did well? Slide, please. These are the top 10. I don't know if you could see this in the back, and I'm sorry for that, but we can give you a copy of the report if you give me your card. Number 1, there are actually 15 companies because we have ties. The number 1 companies are Statoil Hydro in Norway, which is a state-owned oil company with 40% of their board being female. Look at Kraft Foods. Also, 40% of their board's seats are held by women, 4 out of 10. A surprise here. Look at where in the top 10, we have 1 Chinese company, China Construction Bank. They have 5 women directors out of 17, making it 29.4%. That's not bad. So, you know, it may not be, you know, putting women on boards may not be popular in Asia, but China is actually doing pretty well. Now, let me show you another slide. Out of the Fortune Global 200, only 5 companies are headed by women. They're all American companies, and all 5 are in the top 10. So when somebody asks, what difference does it make to have a woman at the top?